our founder flames. This right here is an embodied form of the violet ray spectrum.
Tap in and tune in Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern, live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Grand Rising with ChristoLight, your sacred space for discovering the Ascended Masters in crystal healing. Ashe.
Grand Rising, grand day. Welcome in, everyone. This beautiful container, Grand Rising with ChristoLight. I am your host, your lead of the container. And just a little bit about me in case you guys are not familiar. I am someone on this journey that has overcame and self-healed from early adulthood addiction to many substances. And I was able to do so through my own spiritual self-realization and these holistic and energetic practices. Building routines, building consistency, learning what it means to be accountable for the mind, body, emotions as this human being have been some of the biggest staples for me in overcoming and clearing myself from my own major addictions, unhealthy patterns, and toxic habits. Now, this is a great topic to bring into today's discussion as we're going to be talking about the sacral center. And a little bit about the sacral for everyone is the sacral is one of our main energy centers where we can begin to develop the sense of forming addictive tendencies as well as addictive habits. Now, we're going to deep dive and talk about, what this sacral chakra is in depth, and we're going to give you many perspectives. And we will also be joined by our divine sister once again. And we had such a beautiful episode yesterday for the root chakra, and that is going to be Phinix Returns out in the Costa Rica. So she'll be joining us again to share a little bit about the gene key breakdown that parallels to the sacral chakra, as well as any of her stories, wisdom, and knowledge that she has for us as well. So get ready to deep dive, explore the sacral center. We're going to be talking about relationships, sexuality, inner child, as well as our creativity and ability to have vital life force and feel the connection to the mother. So with that being said, I'm going to kick us off with another oracle, just like yesterday. And this time it's going to be the light language oracle. So the light language oracle, which is by Chloe Metcalf, she uniquely channeled each of these guides and brought them into this deck. And again, this is what it looks like for all of you guys. The light language oracle. And it's really cool. It's got cards like, it's got Pele. And then it's got spirit animals like the octopus. It's also got the owl. It's got Ishtar in here. Mother wolf. It's got the Phinix in there. Queen Nefertiti. So yeah, it's very, very unique deck, that's for sure. So let's just see who would like to come through in this archetypal reflection as we dive into our sacral today. Okay. We got the great wolf spirit. Very interesting. I love this for the sacral too, because, I think about the wolf, and when you think about the wolf, you think about, security. You think about family. You think about tribe. You think about community. You think about what it takes to be a member of the pack. And, a pack isn't just like, you just come together and then you just do whatever. A wolf pack has order, it has structure, it has a specific way that different wolves in the pack line up when they're traveling. Certain wolves travel in the front, certain wolves travel in the back, and they have that for specific purposes when it comes to the balance of their tribe. So, first thing that comes to me without even open book is, how are we contributing to our tribes? How are we working in teamwork? Are we allowing ourselves to be selfless in the ways that help the greater cause? Whether it's the community that you're a part of, whether it's your family, or whether it's expanding outside of one's own ego and expanding into the higher cause of your own self and your purpose. And then I also think about, the wolf is very, very independent in ways as well. So as much as they're great with team, they're also very capable of taking care of themselves on their own. And with that, I feel like it's a great way to connect with the sacral, because the first relationship in our life, that is the center of everything for us, is the relationship with ourselves. So if we don't have a strong relationship with ourselves, then, as we say, it could be difficult to fill the cups of others if we don't have a filled cup. So those are kind of the things that come up for me with the wolf, number 27. And I'll just kind of read a few words out of here as well for your guys' own reflection. And it represents leadership, being a guide, and masculine energy. Talks about, you are a leader in this situation. No one can take you to a place that's not for you. And your intuition will guide you, providing you listen to its words in your heart. So I'll read that again. No one can take you to a place that is not for you, and your intuition will guide you, providing that you listen to its words in your heart. The wolf's messages are about finding a passion, finding a service where you are a leader of a pack. So in management, as a CEO, or perhaps a creative innovator, or someone who is taking risk in making the future better for others. Some decisions can seem illogical. However, the wolf asks that you think outside the box when having your feet within it. This is an important trait when working with the wolf. Beautiful. A lot of our crystalline leaders are being invoked, being activated right now. And I know a lot of us are going to resonate with that calling, that it's time to step up into some different leadership roles here on this planet. You feel it. You feel it when you feel it. That's for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and read to you guys about the sacral. And then we're going to have our wonderful divine sister from the co-star joining us, along with her beautiful family, as they love to surprise us and pop in. And we're going to keep it moving. So the second chakra, and this is on ascensionglossary.com. I'll go ahead and actually put it on the screen for you guys. Okay, so the second chakra, and this is like the second according if you're starting at the bottom, the base, the root chakra. And of course, it can be vice versa. You can say the crown is number one. You can say the root's number one. It just depends on your perspective. So the second chakra, or sacral, is the subconscious, the intellectual mind of the lower emotional body. And this relates to the second chakra, or the sacral, located about 2 inches below the navel. The second chakra is also called the pain body. It is related to the emotional and feeling aspects of life experiences. Our sense of abundance, well-being, and sexuality is related to this chakra. Most traumas experienced that have not been resolved or released will create energetic blockages that lodges itself in this area. It tends to be most difficult energy body and chakra for the human being to master in this plane of reality, where low expressions of duality, such as suffering and brutality, exist. Most of the 3D human population is polarized and stuck in the human's experience of the second chakra, or the pain body. This is where human enslavement has been focused upon by the counter-evolutionary forces of the negative agenda. Through stimulating the second chakra imbalances of power, greed, addiction, and sex, these negative emotions emanate from the lower nature of the desire body residing in the second chakra. And then this causes what we call addiction webbing and sexual misery programming. And I'm not going to go too deep into that right now. I'm sure we'll touch on it a little bit later on when our sister joins. So when it comes to the organs, the second chakra also governs the health of the kidneys, the bladder, and our reproductive system. And this is also for male and female. We both have a womb space. It just works differently in the way that it's manifested. So second chakra issues and imbalances that can take place could result into patterns and symptoms such as unhealthy relationship to others, having a lack of boundaries in our personal relationships. We could be carrying inner child wounds. We could be holding on to negative self-identities. We could be living based off the triggers of our desire body. And this can lead to habitual habits such as addiction and reactionary emotions. And then this is our creative center. So anytime we have blockages in our sacral, it can then block the flow of our creative intelligence, our authenticity, our ability to channel our own creativity. This is also the main female empowerment, or feminine empowerment, the goddess energy. And the reason being so is because at the sacral, when we begin to activate that mother white light out of the spine of the root, it then hits into that sacral center and it begins to activate what we call emotions and what we feel as relationships to things outside of us. And then that gives us our sensuality, which is our sensing of energy, our sensing of information coming into our human container. And then with it being the place where our vitality is stored and begins to activate, that vitality, which is our sexual life force energy, or our prana, that is also our creativity. That's our creative energy. It's our divine feminine spark within us that we're able to bring into our creations as well as relationships. So then it talks about the throat and the sacral and the connection of how they are the two key creative energy centers that work together. So the sacral is kind of like that divine feminine where you cultivate the prana, you cultivate the life force, and then you raise it up your system. And then once you bring it up to that throat center is more of the masculine force, where now you're using your masculine energy to put forward into the world and vocalize the feminine energy that you have raised and cultivated up from your womb space. So that's why for males, we talk about semen retention. Semen retention falls directly in line with this right here. The reason why you do semen retention is because on a metaphysical level, you're cultivating your creative prana force into a higher purpose rather than a animalistic, impulsive nature. And then I believe females have the same type of thing as well, where they can do, retention from sexual nature and be able to raise their prana as well in their own type of fashion. So let's see. Talks about the 2D walls of separation. So it talks about soul fragmentation resulting from pain, abuse, and trauma, and how it can basically create like alter egos and basically shadow aspects of your own self. Talks about miasma, dead energy, which is basically like karmic energy and the energy that causes blockages in our auric field. And then the guardians have identified the 7 most painful implants of separation that impact the majority of human beings on the earth now. Number 1 is unworthiness. Number 2 is shame and guilt. Number 3 is lack of trust and self-doubt. Number 4 is betrayal and abandonment. Number 5 is anger and rage. Number 6 is fear. Number 7 is entrapment and enslavement. That anger and rage one, I don't know why, but I feel like I have to say something about that. And, it's very much played towards us to keep us angry. And it kind of ties back to the last episode with just when you think about, the history that they tell us and the timelines that they give us, and how that can literally just keep us filled with so much anger, so much hate, so much divide. Women having a hate towards men because of the past. Native Americans and Black people having a hate towards white-skinned people because of the past. These type of stories play to that shadow aspects of these energy centers, which is our balance of ourself. And I want to just give the reminder to everyone to really, discern and just take a moment to think about critically, like the words that I'm saying, the things that I'm playing along with, the stories that I'm repeating and telling. Do they really resonate for the well-being of myself or for others or for the greater good? Am I holding on to what could be past things, but also could not be at the same time, and allowing that to dictate my present and my future? Or if something has happened in the past, am I just being an observer of it, a witness of it, and taking what I can to learn in the present and moving forward? That's a big difference mentally. It's different to mentally stay in the past about something and not be able to have a solution to move forward. And it's another thing to just witness and observe something of the past, quote unquote, and to know that, hey, I'm still here, I'm present. I'm in this current body, I'm in this current consciousness. And what may have happened in the past. Maybe it didn't happen the way that they say. But I'm here to reconcile. I'm here to be the grace. I'm here to be the balance point, where in this present time, we have the choice not to repeat those patterns and cycles. And I'm going to do what I can to embody that. and help others do the same. All right. So I'm going to wrap up a little bit, and I'm going to talk about just some different ways that you guys can bring balance to the sacral before we bring on our wonderful sister, Phinix Returns. And that is, you can do the mantra chant with the VAM, V-A-M, and you can do that as much as you feel with your free energy to sit in meditation and do the mantra. For the direct hertz frequency that rebalances the sacral, you have 417 hertz. Color is associated with orange. And now we kind of talked about the principles of it. Connects you to your sexuality, your sensuality and pleasure, your inner child, your feminine energy, your relationships. And then, of course, very big damage comes from sexual trauma, emotional wounds. And another one too that I like to bring up is struggling to have fun. So, oftentimes on this spiritual journey, we may think that, oh man, I have to be so serious all the time. Like, this is just so serious, and I need to be angry, and I need to be hating something and have an enemy. But in this of life, you learn that there's time for fun, there's time for play. And if we don't allow ourselves to have our inner child be able to be explored, if we don't allow ourselves to have fun, have some playfulness, be able to transmute with humor in some type of way at some point, then we find ourselves suffering more and more, into more and more density. And that is out of our own free will. Is that try to have fun in this life and integrate playful with your day. Whether it's art, creating, music, or thing, and enjoying. So then, foods and herbs, we have oranges, mangoes, peaches, sweet potato, carrot, and apricot. Then we have flax, walnut, almond, sesame, coconut, and cinnamon for the sacral. Some crystals that you guys can use that correlate for the sacral. We have pyrite, which is great for abundance, manifesting, good fortune, as well as EMF protection. We have tiger's eye for confidence, clarity, determination. We have citrine, sunstone, orange calcite, unakite, moonstone, and snowflake obsidian. And then, of course, you guys can always look into guided meditations, frequency healing, yoga poses, and doing really, really deep inner child wound healing, as well as, self-reflection, journaling. And it's always nice, too, when you can find community of friends that you can have fun with and be playful with as well, to enact more of that inner child nature. All right, so that'll do it for my deeper education portion of our sacral chakra, which is our focus of today, which means it's now time to take a little pause. And when we get back, we will have our divine sister from the co-star, Phinix Returns, as she gives us the gene key breakdown and helps us dive in to this sacral center. We'll see you guys soon. Welcome, Sistar. Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising. Oh, I love it. I love the vibes you got going on over there. What all you got going on?
Oh my God, I got decorated today. Like Eduardo and River just wanted to adorn me with flowers. I've got a little Bobin sauna crown. We've got some orange tropic flowers up in here. We're just bringing the life.
Yeah.
Bringing the vitality. Bringing the crystal city.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing such beautiful energy.
You can see, yeah? Yeah, you never know when the fam's gonna come in for a surprise visit.
Hey.
And we're drinking some banana smoothies over here. So sweet, so good. And I was thinking of papaya too when you were talking about good fruits. Like the peel is yellow, but inside it's orange. It's like the perfect sacral solar plexus fruit. We always have tons of papaya. Food is medicine, the best medicine.
Yes. Well, I'll go ahead and just leave the space open, and if you want to dive in, feel free. And yeah, love to hear from you guys.
Oh yeah, I'm ready to roll.
Oh, the
papaya. We got that sexy papaya. This is pure medicina. We eat this all day, every day. This has digestive enzymes. Huh?
I was saying, look how vibrant it is. It's so vibrant.
I know. It's so, it gives you vibrancy, you know, and it's like, it's so good for the digest. Like when people come to visit us, right away, they're like, dang, I went to the bathroom like the best I've ever went. And it's just because we eat pure and clean, and we kind of introduce them to our lifestyle and our diet, and they're just like cleaning out their digestive tract and their system. And this is one of the key medicines. Plus, these seeds are a natural parasite killer. So we love to share this with everybody. It's pure food, pure life.
Papaya.
I like the seeds. They're spicy, but I'm ready to dive right into the sacral. What?
Pura Vida.
Pura Vida, the pure life. That's what we're here for. And that's, you know, where the sacral comes into things. Like, I feel called to kind of share this story. I came here to Costa Rica 8 years ago, and unexpectedly quickly got united with my eternal love. After 14 years of marriage, it was a bit of a shock to be activated in my sacral chakra, being in the presence of this new person in my life. And I was trying to deny that feeling and that sensation that was coming up in my body. My Kundalini was activated. I didn't have any context to Kundalini. I didn't know what Kundalini was at the time. I just knew that I had started to feel this orgasmic energy through my body on a regular, constant basis for about 2 weeks. And so I was thinking, is there a problem here? You know, and I started like Googling having an orgasm for 2 weeks. And, you know, that's what led me to the idea of Kundalini awakening. And I could feel that that was what was going on. And so eventually around that same time, I was introduced to the Gene Keys. And it really ended up bringing in, I didn't really have a background of any kind of spiritual knowledge or principles or much around chakra systems. It was all so new to me. I'd had a near death in Austin a couple years before. And so slowly I was being prepared for a deeper understanding of our body, our energy, our sexuality, divine love, devotion, you know, just and the healing path. And so eventually with that, I like to say I ascended to heaven pretty quickly. And I knew that my mission in divine union was to bring heaven to the earth. But I also could not deny that it was rather lonely in heaven, and it didn't feel like many people were able to enter those gates. And what I was shown was that the kink in the sink, so to speak, had to do with the sacral chakra. And I was shown the sacral chakra as kind of like, you know, when you're in your bathroom in the sink, like if people put hair down their sink, which is so weird and gross, but like, you know, like sometimes like sink drains are just kind of good, like gooky and gross. And it was like, that's what I was being shown that needed to be purified and cleaned up in order to bring the crystalline cities, in order to bring the heavens down to earth.
Eat all the fruits in our attitude or something.
Yeah, we need all the fruits in our life, right? And so, yeah, that was the realization for me. Is I was shown the sacral chakra on a planetary level. And if you think about like what's going on the earth right now, you can see the planetary whirlwind of the sacral chakra with the scandals that are coming out, with the sex, with the pedophilia, with the global elites, with the Hollywood movie stars and the young girls with the old guys. And like, it just kind of never, like, that is the entertainment on the stage right now. And so when we don't look away from that, and also we don't overly consume this data, I try to go more on my inner planes and less on the outer planes. I prefer to be transmitting information versus being reported to. But I also can't deny that there's some wild shit going on out there, and there's an opportunity to purify this world wound, to purify this sacral chakra on a planetary level. And so, yeah, that's where the sacral chakra comes in. And I love to bring in, if you didn't catch yesterday, what I'm bringing to you today is really sacred mystery school teachings that technically, you know, you need to go through initiatic processes within yourself, like a commitment to purify yourself, to really unlock what are called the 7 sacred seals. And this is one of the, hey guys, you're a little loud for me. Okay, can you be a little more quiet when I'm talking? Thank you, River. I love you guys. And so this is one of the books that I like to bring in from the 7 sacred seals, or from the Gene Keys. It's called the 7 sacred seals. And this brings a little more of a context and practices and invocations and prayers to the purification of our bodies and the unlocking of the 7 seals. And I always like to connect it to Revelations, where it talks about the angels sounding their trumpet, the unlocking of the 7 seals, and the activation of the 144,000. So here we were, ascended to heaven, and now we're like bringing the heavens back down. And it's like, this is where we need to clean things up. And I started to learn too, like, the billions of dollars industry of pornography. So I always have this prayer. I always say, free the souls from sexual control, free the souls from sexual control. Because a lot of people seem to not have their ability to see the bigger picture of like being used, their bodies being used, you know, for these sexual games. And so, you know, sometimes people call it sexual energy, but I prefer to call it your God energy or your life force energy. And unfortunately, because we've just never even been taught the truth or the mechanics of things, it's like, it's all just kind of, again, the kink in the hose is in that sacral chakra, when really bliss and ecstasy is our eternal state and our eternal birthright, but it gets caught, it gets locked, it gets blocked in the lower nature. So when we can identify this, when we can remember this, we can work through the purification process and start to activate that constant orgasmic energy, where we're not just chasing the feeling of a temporary pleasure, but that our entire life becomes orgasmic. And that is what we are designed to be. That is available to us. But we do have to recognize where we're being robbed of our life force energy, where we're leaking our life force energy, where we're committing ourselves to pleasure and pain cycles, you know, where we come into the rise and the fall, and we're living in those guilt and shames. And I understand why we're doing it, because once I was initiated in my near death, it was like all of a sudden this gate had opened and all these people were coming to me and they were starting to share the things that had happened in their life. And I guess I'd been a bit sheltered around what was really going on in the world until people started coming to me and being like, you know, my father did something to me, my brother did something to me, my grandfather did something to me, my mother did something to me, my pastor at church did something. And I'm like, whoa, this is a pandemic. You know, so I knew I was holding a field that made it safe for people to come and share this information with me. At the time, I didn't know what to do with that. Now I understand I was almost just like in the research field and just holding the space for people to share these types of things. And then to realize that this really is a worldwide pandemic, that there's almost no one that has not encountered sexual trauma, usually at an early age. And if not at an early age, possibly in the high school ranges or the college ages. I've heard of so many people that have had gangbangs and like, you know, sorority parties and initiations like that. And it's just, this shit's not easy to talk about. But when we start to talk about it, right, and we can get clean and clear about it, that's how we can start to purify and really start to identify where our patterns lie, where our shadows lie, and also where implants have been implanted in ourselves that are literally like using our body to feed off of our life force energy. Yeah. This is the real deal Holyfield topic that is unavoidable at this moment in time. There isn't anyone that it doesn't really affect in some way. And so we came to purify, we came to heal. And what I'm learning is that the more that we talk about it, I'm not saying get all caught up in it and talk about it forever. The more that we can bring light to these topics, the more we can start to find ourselves liberated, the sacral, which ultimately, even though we're going from the bottom up, you know, with the chakras, we climb the ladder, we ascend to heaven, and then we bring it back down. That sacral chakra is second to last. The final, yesterday was the root chakra. That's where we root the heavens down here. So let's imagine we've climbed up the ladder to the crystalline dimensions, and now we're bringing it back down, and we're kind of right there at that sacral. And these are the spaces and the places where, yeah, we start to practice and understand the delicacy and the importance of this life force and start to harness it and use its masterful power to enliven ourselves and to revitalize ourselves and to stop draining our energy and identifying where, well, I use the word sometimes, vampiric, predatory, parasitic natures come into the sexual field and try to dominate that juice, so to speak, that life force, that nectar. You want to say anything, Marcus?
So yeah, actually, it's funny you say that because there was something that came up in that moment, and that was just kind of like a reflection, kind of like a reminder for, you know, our fellow like creatives out there that, you know, want to follow their own passion and live their life independent and things of that nature. Just when we take a look at ourselves and go through this journey, and we're kind of identifying like where are my blockages, so to say, and me being able to, you know, continue forward with my services or being able to express my creativity out into the world. And a lot of times I find that there's a lot of us that are very, very much like super intelligent, very knowledgeable, and very spiritually inclined. But then there is instability, a unregulated nervous system. There is fear around being seen, fear of judgment of others' opinions, of being in your truth, and fear of your future, of abundance and stability being taken care of. So, this episode, the last episode, they kind of go in depth about those type of energies and shadow aspects. And I just want to kind of give the perspective that, just like we said yesterday, you don't have to look at things as the physical or just the surface, where we get in those patterns mentally of, oh, I'm just not worthy of this. I'm not ready. And we just continue to limit ourselves and tell ourselves limiting things. I just like to give the reminder that you can actually bring your shifting perspective to your metaphysical body, where these energy centers are going to contribute to well-being, as well as the balancing process of you being able to dissolve your fears, you being able to feel within your own self, through your own gut and through your own womb, that you are capable, that you have the energy inside of you and it's flowing through you. And yeah, just give that reminder, because I've seen it a lot, especially being a part of a community where we have brilliant artists and brilliant people that want to share their knowledge, share their information that they have, but they just don't know how. They don't know how to ground it into this earth plane. They don't know how to simulate it to where they can actually present it to people, and people will be able to magnetize, come in, and see that there is something built to be a part of. And as I say, you build the container, and then the things will come. And if we're not able to, bring that container into form, then how are we going to be able to manifest what it is that we would like from that container? So just that reminder that this system that we're going over here, this can be a system that can help you multidimensionally understand the flow of energy from materialization to dematerialization, and understanding that we are doing that a million upon a million every moment. Every single moment we're doing that. And that's what being present is to me, is remembering that I am the ladder in this moment. And I'm never not the ladder. And while I'm climbing the self, the ladder, I'm in this continuation of journey and experience. The more you re-fortify that, the more you re-strengthen your auric field into being that diamond, that crystal. Because then your cells, your nerves, your blood, your energy centers, your emotional health, it all attunes and falls in line with being that crystal avatar. Shoo.
That's what we're here for. It's a big one, activating that life force energy, flowing through all the circuitry, activating the rainbow light body, the Corpus Christi body. These are the teachings that are revealed to heal all aspects of the self and to bring the angelic frequencies, the avatar frequencies, down into the body. This is the level of purification that we're called to. And you can't force it, but you don't find yourself here by accident. This is an attuned frequency. This is a resonance. And there's zero guilt or shame or judgment. There's only an invitation of a call to rise. And so we're all just messengers of light, here to welcome each other home, with hints, clues, reminders, reversing and rise up. Yeah, it's about rising it up. Rise up with your heart, she says. Rise up with your heart.
Man.
Okay, so this one of the things that we're talking about here is the ring of purification. Okay, this is from the Seven Sacred Seals book. It might not be so easy to see, but basically what we're talking about here with this codon ring of purification, which has to do with the purification of the lower astral body. That's what the rapture, the terminology of the rapture actually is. It's connected to gene key 30. It's the purification of the lower astral body. And it's talking about the sublimation of desire and the sublimation of discord. And so it's talking about the celestial fire burning all desire. It's not judging desire. It's just saying that you can utilize the desire to raise things up, and we don't always have to act out on our desires. And ultimately, with the second ray that we're activating, I'm going to give you the little sigil. This is the invocation of the second seal. And it's connected to gene key 17. The city of gene key 17 is omniscience. It's connected to the star Raja. The quality is penetrating. It's Archangel Kamael. It's the healing of the wound of denial. It's the subtle body of the astral plane, the astral body. The prime teaching of the second ray, the inner light, the phosphorescence, is omniscience precedes transformation. And so what we're talking about with that omniscience is being able to pull yourself out of yourself, so to speak, and be able to observe from a higher plane, to be the all-seeing eye, to see the bigger picture, to be able to see from above. And before I read the opening of the second seal, the other thing I wanted to talk about is this is connected also to emotions. I know I jumped right into the sexuality, but it's also about the emotions. And Marcus had mentioned the pain body. Now, the first time I ever heard about the pain body, at that time, like I definitely had a lot of agitation and irritation and like irritableness in my life. And yeah, I was trying to figure out what that was all about. A lot of it's about just an unlived life, you know, you're not living up to what it is that you're here to do. You have all this life force energy and it's not being channeled. And so it ends up just being like anger, irritation, dissatisfaction, whatever. But anyways, in the book, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, it was kind of like a first introduction to the awakening process for me. I was living in Austin, Texas. I started reading about it. He was talking about the pain body. And he said that everyone has a pain body and that your pain body is addicted to fighting with other people's pain bodies. And so I started to see that like people's pain wasn't actually who they were, but that people had these pain bodies that had to do with their traumas and their wounds and things like that. And he said that the moment, I mean, maybe he didn't say this, but this is what I ended up getting out of it. What I started to do in my own practice was observe and witness myself. When someone came into my field and it felt like their pain body was active, instead of me taking offense to that and reacting to that, I was able to become the witness and to breathe through that and to be able to see that. I didn't need to provoke it. I didn't need to react to it. And I would recognize that maybe my pain body would start to well up and it would want to react, right? Or do whatever it needed to do, defend. And all of a sudden, I started to learn that if I did not react to their pain body, like if I could just like observe, witness, take a breath, breathe it in, breathe it out. They don't even have to know that I'm doing this. It would diffuse the pain body, because it takes two to tango, it takes two to play. And that's how I started to heal my own pain body. That's how I started to heal my emotional body. That's how I started to like recognize, like, it's not worth me getting in a fight, getting in something where I need to be defensive or angry or arrogant about something. I don't need to prove anything. I can watch and observe with love and compassion. Now, there's a difference if there's someone being a bitch or rude or disrespectful, and like you need to say like, hey, how can we, and you can meet them, but not in a reactionary state. That's where you get God. And the same can happen for your sexual desires or emotional desires. It's like what we're looking for is the ability to not just be taken over by the reptilian nature without having any sense of knowing what we're doing. Because sometimes like something can just take over you like Incredible Hulk style, and you're like, where'd that come from, right? And what we're looking to do is be able to take that pause, to be able to rise up, to be able to see from the bigger view, from the higher picture, before we get caught up in anything, before we get caught up in any reaction. That's how we start to practice our mastery. That's how we start to practice seeing the bigger picture, observing and witnessing everything. And we're really taking everything from the outer to the inner. And eventually, what's so interesting about that, because this is just how resonance works, unless you're addicted to trauma and fighting, you're just like, once you've diffused those bombs within yourself, you're not going to keep bringing that same type of stuff to you. It just doesn't work that way. Now, it doesn't mean that people that come in your field might not be carrying their own shit, but it's not going to work in your field. And so that actually invites and rises people to start holding a higher field in your presence, because you're not here to play in confrontation, in conflict, in argument, right? And so that is the beauty of being the field, being the force field, holding the field high. This is a practice that you can start to do over time, to diffuse, to observe, to witness, to breathe, to pause, and then to be able to like diffuse any bomb within yourself. And so with that being said about diffusing bombs, this second seal, each one of the 7 sacred seals has a flavor of something that it's here to do for the healing of the planet. And this particular seal is here to end anger and war on our planet, and heal sexuality. So I'm going to read you this invocation, or this opening of the second seal, which is about the healing of the wound of denial. Each one of the 7 sacred seals has a particular wound. So yesterday, sacred seal number 1 was the wound of repression. And then today, sacred seal number 2 is the wound of denial. And so the opening of the second seal. The second seal is opened by the 17th city of omniscience. And its target is the wound of denial. Denial is the external expression of fear as anger and aggression. If your core wound is denial, then you are unable to see and take responsibility for your own negative behavior. So this is a really good time where we can get really real and really honest with ourselves and ask ourselves, am I taking responsible for my own negative behaviors? Am I able to see, or am I in denial? Am I being blinded? Am I pretending like I can't see my own negative behaviors? The more someone tries to show you your denial, the more powerful it becomes. Throughout humanity, this wound expresses itself through fundamentalism, violence, and sexuality. The only force that can break denial is omniscience, which is what occurs when, even if only for a split second, your vision is opened and your higher bodies literally look down into your mental and astral bodies I like to see it like a dove coming up, and you're just observing it all. Like, instead of being a victim of any reactionary behaviors, you're able to just take a breath in one moment where you would have reacted before. You cut the pattern, you break up into the higher realms from your higher bodies, and you observe and you witness your mental and emotional bodies. This notion of being seen through comes as a deep shock to the recipient, who usually experiences a complete and permanent rebirth after the event. Once you can see your own denial, it's no longer denial. It's through the opening of this second seal that certain people experience sudden conversions or higher callings. At the collective level, this seal will bring great healing to human sexuality and will eventually extinguish violence. Yeah, so this key is connected to sexuality, violence, anger, aggression. And so you're asking yourself, you're getting real with yourself about, where am I in denial? Where am I not seeing my own patterns and behaviors? And one of the ways that you can start to look at that is like, look in your relationships. If you have any constant encounters of domestic violence, abuse, arguments, conflicts, like, if you are bringing patterns to you repeatedly like that, there is a denial of your own ownership and responsibility in those patterns. So when we have that ability to cut the pattern by taking the breath and changing the way we react, there can be a big breakthrough in your life. Once you break that reptilian reactionary pattern where you don't have control over yourself, and now all of a sudden you do because you're becoming the witness, like, from there, you just keep playing it until it all dissolves. Like, eventually it does. You just become a student. It's like Mr. Miyagi Karate Kid type of stuff, you know? It's like, all of a sudden, like, it comes in and you're just like, it's like, eventually you can't play that game anymore. Once you see it, you see it. And so this is a very beautiful, really, to me, a simple practice. It's just about getting really real with yourself, super responsible, and asking yourself, where am I in denial? Where am I not seeing my aggression, my anger, my patterns, my violence, my reaction, my emotion? And then getting to the root of, like, why am I holding bitterness in my body? Why am I holding anger in my body? What is this irritation? What is this hate? What is this rage? Like, only you can diffuse those bombs. And you have to ask those honest questions. And this is where I think sometimes responsible use of plants can help. Mushrooms is a great one to start to show you the shit that you can't see about yourself, you know? And it's such a beautiful gift. It's like, it's freeing for you, and it's freeing for anyone that knows you. So that's the second seal. And, you know, the other day I was taking a picture of it, and someone was calling me. So if you have gene key 17 in your chart, and if you don't know much about the gene keys, or even if you do, I bring quite a flair to my galactic wisdom and knowledge around these keys. I've been studying them for many years. I love to do charts and transmissions for people. Reach out to me directly if you ever want to do something like that and explore your genetic codes. Ultimately, we're all the codes. There's 64 codes. We're all those codes and more. And the 7 sacred seals is a core teaching beyond your actual personal chart that applies to all of us as well. But, you know, the other day I was just opening this, and I want to give you a glimpse of the sacredness of what the gene keys brings and what is really calling in and healing this wound of denial. Because this is, I love to work with people when they come and visit me personally, sometimes on calls as well, but it's something that's very beautiful when we're sitting in the space with each other, kind of ceremonial, like, where we invocate a seal. And this particular one, I was just opening it, and I want to give you just a glimpse of what we're talking about here in these sacred prayers. And this one particular with sacred seal number 2 that we're in that we're talking about today. So I'm just opening it to a part of the invocation. It's a little long. I'm just going to read you like a paragraph of it, okay? It says, we see the truth of our spiritual labor without haze or corruption or self-delusion. This is the great cleansing of sight. It is the great love that cuts through illusion, that shows us who we really are. We bring before you our self-delusions, our self-grandeur, our spiritual glamour. We lay before you our vanity, our proclaimed knowledge, our opinions, our need to be right, our individuated viewpoint. We bring before you all the trappings of our denial, those aspects of our being that prevent us from being the truth. We acknowledge the aspects of our proud self that we cannot see for ourselves. We acknowledge our blindness, our dumbness, our holy ignorance. We lay all our ideas of our holiness before your feet. We lay our primal anger at your feet. We lay the rage and blindness of our ancestors at your feet. We assume responsibility for all violent acts throughout time, as we ourselves have been violent, either in our thoughts, in our self-judgments, in our attitude towards others, and sometimes in our actions. We bring all that is hidden from our own sight before you for your transmutation. We surrender everything to the eye of God, that it may cleanse us and open us up to the truth. We invoke the frequency of phosphorescence, the holy light of the second ray. We acknowledge that our DNA, the bedrock of our being, sits upon a backbone of phosphates, tiny chemical bonds, whose very name means to shine out with inner light. We note the two different qualities present in phosphorescence, the shining gentleness of the many in the one, and the fiercely penetrating gaze of the hunter of truth. Yeah, I could go on and on with it, but it is so sacred. It's really meant for a ceremonial type of space to bring this through, but I wanted to give you a glimpse of the gift and the invitation of, us laying down our self-delusion, our self-grandeur, our spiritual glamour, our proclaimed knowledge, our vanity. This is what's really being called for us to be able to come together and to work together as teams and families and tribes, and to really take a lot of powerhouses and be able to bring them all together in one space where we don't have that personal importance, and we're able to harmonize in groups, in packs, in communities. This is really the invitation and the invocation of this prayer, is to start to be able to bring us together so that we can synthesize, synergize, and work together as teams. So I think that covers everything. We're just covering like emotion, sexuality, and the wound and healing of the wound of denial. So with that, I'll just give it back over to Marcus.
Bam. Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for that.
My pleasure.
Wow. Sometimes you just gotta sit with it.
All right. There's another thing this brings into You know, it was just Mother Mary's Annunciation the other day, and part of this, the 7 sacred seals in Gene Key 22, it talks about there being, there's a certain gene key, the 19, with the city of sacrifice, and it's called the future human being. And the future human being has the sensitivity of the future and what's coming. They usually have a sensitivity to the emotional plane, to the animal plane, and just like a sensitivity to the future. And it talks about the 5th planetary initiation, and it's very much about what you were talking about when you introduced and brought it in, was about the sacral connected to the throat chakra. And the Annunciation has to do with the Annunciation, the mystical announcement of the imminent birth of the Christ. Much of the symbolism surrounding this 5th initiation is feminine in origin, flowing as it does from the 3rd aspect of the sacred Trinity, the Holy Mother. On the lower planes, the feminine is expressed through the astral plane, the desire nature, and the emotions. At a higher level, this plane relates to the 5th or Buddhic body. At the 5th initiation, the exquisite emanation and refined currents from the Buddhic body begin to penetrate the lower astral nature. This is a deeply tantric phenomenon in which you experience the sublimation of your sexuality into pure spiritual essence. The Annunciation is a chemical phenomenon that saturates your whole being. Just as a woman during pregnancy is flooded with hormones, so you become aware that your body is being purified and cleansed in preparation for a great inner event, the birth of Christ consciousness. In the analogy of the church, this initiation relates to the situation of the choir who preside over the altar and who represent the voice of pure worship of the Godhead. The connection between the throat center and the sexual center also becomes clear during this initiation. When a person spontaneously enters a higher ecstatic state that appears to be ongoing, it is fair assumption that they are entering the 5th portal of the Annunciation. Many different mystical traditions speak of this magical time of higher pregnancy in which the immortal fetus is gestating inside the solar plexus center. It is one of the great enduring mysteries of creation. In terms of the initiation of species, humanity stands at the threshold of the 5th initiation today. Even now, there are whispers in the air of a new form waiting to come into the world. Little do we realize that this form is gestating inside our very DNA. The timeline for a species to undergo any initiation is obviously very different from an individual, and for humanity, it may take many hundreds of years for the Annunciation to become realized. We are about to enter a great time of purification in which the feminine spirit of grace will be working actively in the world. The fact is that as a species, we've already been fertilized and are in the very first stages of pregnancy. As the body of the woman takes several weeks and months to register the changes externally, humanity will not only become generally aware of the great change that is upon it for some considerable time. Only those who are sensitive to the subtler currents moving beneath the world of matter will detect the first signs of the new human that has now begun its period of gestation. So we've been in that process for quite some time, and it's starting to appear and to become more evident. Purity and holiness aren't always the most popular topics in the world, but that's where we're going. And it has been talked about in churches and organizations, but unfortunately, there's a difference in talking about it versus actually being it. And one of the ways that we actually do preserve planet Earth is to invite ourselves into these initiatic paths of purification to hold energy fields as guardians on this planet, as the dragons, as the pure ones, as the Essenes, as the Elohim, as, whatever, fill in the blanks. But it's a purification process so we can start to bring more of our galactic wisdom, knowledge, and frequencies down to the earth. This is us landing on the earth. This is the real cosmic disclosure as we start to go through these purification processes and birth ourselves into the multidimensional aspects of our truth, of who we are and our original origins beyond our earth mother and father, which is a topic that we brought in yesterday. So we're just climbing that stairway to heaven together.
Ashe. I just like to also just give the reminder to everyone as well to just try to be mindful of your reactions. Just being mindful of impulsive reactions, just allowing stories, allowing actions outside of your own mind body emotion system, just being mindful of how much they have the ability to consume your being, how much of your vitality you give in your daily life, from being awake in this 3D world. We got this vitality in this human body, and we feel things like being drained. We feel things like taking on and absorbing other emotions and thoughts of the collective. And I just want to give that reminder of claiming your sovereignty mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Remembering that you have the choice of how much you fixate on something outside of you, how much you fixate on the worldly affairs, as Yeshua and Mary would always remind us, be in the world but not of it. And just remembering with this sacral energy that there is purposely designed manipulation tactics that will just continuously zap over and over your sacral center. And if we are not allowing that balance, that purification to come back to the sacral, it could be very susceptible to becoming triggered over and over, causing us to be in a fight or flight, reactive state, acting impulsively, instantly saying things that we're not even meaning to say, placing limitations on things. All sorts of different things can happen in those triggered impulsive moments. And when we can just, understand, what propaganda is, what these tools are that's being used, and then take the responsibility of purification of the sacral so that we're not carrying the frequencies, or we're not carrying the patterns that can be triggered within our system. So just that reminder, just being mindful of, how much of my vital energy am I giving to the way that I'm reacting to things that are happening outside of me? Am I like fixating on the state of the world to where I'm like putting my nervous system into hyperactive mode, and I feel like I need to be on my toes and that everything is against me? Or am I just observing like, oh, okay, there's polarity at play, there's experiences taking place, but right here present in this vessel that I am witnessing through right now, as this identity of some sort, in this moment with my capabilities? And what am I doing in this moment? I think that's a good question to ask ourselves is, what am I doing in this moment? How many times do we even ask ourselves that? Like, what am I doing right now? Am I like giving my energy fixation on something that could be happening on another continent that I heard through a storyline? Or am I like focusing my love into my family and into myself and helping my community and just continuing to be the love and service that I embody? So just things of that nature to think about, and thinking about like where where the mind goes as well when it comes to our life force, and showing the unconditional love of being able to be a co-creator, being an alchemist, and being present. I've had to really chop a lot of cords of just like the worldly affairs, as our good old brother Yeshua would say. And it's been very graceful to do so, and I'm grateful for that.
It's the real freedom. It's yeah, free yourself. Free yourself from the propaganda, free yourself. Your attention is worth $1,000,000. And yeah, that practice of being in the now moment. And I'm grateful that my dharma has brought me into a path of a lot of rest and silence and simplicity and stillness. But I understand, and I don't look away from the idea that a lot of people are living like very busy, full calendar work, like carrying a lot of heavy loads and heavy weights. I know it's not as easy in that space, in that place. And I was there when I started practicing these things of like cutting what needed to be cut, getting as still as I could when I could, giving myself that rest, that relaxation, that nature, any moment that I could, not not filling my calendar with a lot of busy things, saying yes to things that you don't really want to do. Like, start really getting true within yourself and realizing like the self-care and taking care of yourself, because that's usually when you get burned out, right? And that's usually where it's just, there is so much noise out there, there's so much distraction out there. So that's my prayer, that you find those pockets of times and those pockets of moments that I believe will eventually recreate your reality. And it's like, because every little ounce of peace that you can find yourself in, and that's the next practice, and that's real mastery too. And I always say this, like, you could do all of these practices, you could wake up, you could do yoga, you could do meditation, but the real meditation, the real yoga is like in the moment that shit hits the fan. How do you deal with it? How do you handle it? Can you diffuse that bomb? Can you become the eye in the midst of the storm? In that moment, that's the real deal practice. And that will bring you to a new level of mastery that will truly start to recreate the chaos in the field. And I think a lot of anger and aggression comes out because there's just so much on the plate, so distracted, so busy, so much going on, when we really, I know the lives don't always allow a lot of peace and rest and relaxation, but it is what you do with those pockets and those windows and those now moments that can really help you and strengthen you on the path. And yeah, just get out in nature and get into the simplicity and get off the tech when you can, and really be aware of like, how much is the machine controlling you? How much are you being infiltrated by the imagery? What are you digesting out there? What is touching your eyes? It's playing with you hard. And so that's like something really for us to be aware of right now, and to like shield ourselves with techniques of awareness about like, whoa. And you know, algorithms are so key to this. Like for example, you know, I'm pretty passionate about eating pure clean diets and more raw foods. And it's crazy how like if you do play the game a little bit, which I've been so far out of, like I just go in, do a video, kind of come back out. But now I'm like, okay, I like pure clean raw foods. I'll like that video. I'll like that video. I'll like that video. And then all of a sudden, all that's flowing on my page is pure, clean, nourishing foods. That's what's coming to me right now. And so, like, if you're into war, if you're into debate, if you're into politics, that's what's going to be coming to you. And it's actually your technology is mirroring to you what you're focusing on. And so, in any given moment like that, you can start unfollowing or not liking things or not watching things, and start watching and replace them with different things. And that alone is like nourishing yourself with food, because your energy is being used for food actually. So it's like really getting aware with ourselves, like do an inventory check for the sake of your own health about what you're submitting to, what you're looking at, what you're drinking up, what you're digesting out there. Yeah, and just many prayers of strength and courage, and the ability to be aware and break through that wound of denial and make those choices, like to re-navigate your field in any now moment, can really help you and reinforce new habits and patterns and mental spaces and emotions.
That brings me to the power of consent. You know, understanding the power of consent. And when you really think about spiritual sovereignty, just like being able to hold that remembrance that you do have that free will ability of the power of consent. And one thing I also want to remind people of in this multidimensional world is sometimes, I mean, probably like almost all the time, it takes a little bit more than just thinking something sometimes, or just saying it. Oh, my throat chakra. It takes a little more than thinking or saying sometimes. Sometimes you got to take your physical being and you got to remove it from the environment that it's in and put it in a different environment so that you're not in that same environment of energy. And that is also taking back your power of consent. So, like, for example, if you are not wanting to consent to being subjected to people robbing people, seeing people strung out on drugs, but you continue to keep on going back to the trap house, then you're consenting physically by placing yourself in that energy field with your free will over and over. So in this multidimensional reality, you know, sometimes depending on the circumstance, depending on what is happening in your authentic experience for you, sometimes it requires you to change your physical environment, change the patterns that you are having habits with in this physical environment as well. And then that is a way of, in action, reassembling your power of consent back to you, basically, because you're no longer placing yourself in the place to be subjected to that environment. So I just felt called to place that reminder as well of, you know, a lot of times we can get caught kind of in that, just in the mental space or just in the emotional space. And then we start kind of blaming, you know, we'll be like, oh, God's not listening to me, or like the universe is not working with me and stuff like that. Well, sometimes it's like, well, why do you keep going back to that person? Why do you keep going back to your abuser that you're not wanting to consent to having in your life the way that you're having it? So again, kind of like what we were mentioning earlier. It's just accountability as a sovereign being, responsibility of your mind, body, emotions, and how you're allowing it to be demonstrated in this world. Boundaries. And I feel like
Let's use
boundaries
this
also too,
example.
like,
Oh, go
kind of
ahead.
like, I was just gonna say, I feel like boundaries too sometimes get like really radicalized, and then people kind of just like throw boundaries out the window. And it's like, the kind of boundaries I speak on is like understanding what respects your well-being, like understanding what helps you be able to sustain yourself, to be able to live and be able to have a decent sense of life in this world. And when you're in this world of so much polarity, it's like the understanding that between beings here, there are beings that are trafficking humans. There are beings that are drinking adrenochrome out of beings. They're anything. So just realizing that, that's where boundaries come in. And then when you learn about the sacral and everything that we spoke about today, you just understand the preciousness of your vital energy in this world. It's like a battery. Just like in the Matrix, when he shows that battery to Neo, he's like, this is what they're trying to turn you into. Battery.
Lead me not into temptation, right? And as you just said something about adrenochrome, I never had this download before. How is it different when you think of the adrenaline and the blood of a cow? It's I'm not putting a cow as equal to a human exactly, but like let's get real about it. Let's get really real about what we're ingesting, what we're digesting, and this is a next step about purification of what we are eating and what we are feeding and what we are putting into our body. I've stayed away from this topic because I didn't want it to be dogmatic, but it's like eating flesh, eating meat, eating blood is vampiric in nature. I'm like, I see people out there that are like, oh, I'm eating all of this meat and I'm feeling powerful and strong like an ox. And it's like, yeah. And you're eating these hormones. You're eating, yeah, you're feeling like a god. You're eating this flesh and you're becoming this flesh. And so it's like, and so I tell people, I get it. Like, I remember that I couldn't have said no to meat until one day I just did. And that was like 9 years ago or something like that. And I had to go through the ridicule and the misunderstanding of everyone around me. And when they're like, they make fun of you almost, especially if you live in Texas and everybody's just eating steaks and briskets all the time. And it was just a flip of a switch. I know you can't force anyone on this or talk anyone into it, but if you start to feel that call, and usually it will help with all other addictions too. It's interesting because in Spanish, meat is carne. And I think of the carnal nature, that animalistic nature, that drive to just want to like have sex with something or to devour something. It's like, yeah, of course you're having animal tendencies. You're eating animals and then you're having sex like an animal. And it's like, there's something much more holy out there for us. And so when I say lead me not into temptation, if I'm going through a purification process, yeah, if I'm stopping drinking alcohol, I'm not going to a bar. If I'm stopping eating meat, I'm not going to a butcher shop. If I'm going to stop, if I'd like to not be addicted to pornography, I'm not going to a strip club. It's like pretty simple, right? And I mean, eventually that leads you sometimes to a world where those things don't even exist within 100-mile radius of you. I am in a place like that, and I invite people to come and experience places like that just to like unplug for a minute, recalibrate your system a little bit, and like, reset your nervous system, so that we can build the body of light. So again, I hold compassion. I know it's not easy out there in these busy streets and like traffic and technology and food everywhere. It's Babylon. It takes a lot to overcome these temptations.
Oh yeah. I feel like we're hitting another peak because I just got another pretty deep download to share too. Is like I just want everyone to have a reflective moment to really think about the substances that you're putting inside your system. And I'm talking about like, drugs and alcohol. And like I would really, in the perspective of this multidimensional topic, like for everyone to think about, you know, how the sacral center, which is like our womb space, which brings forth the creative feminine aspect of energy in the inside of our human vessel. So, if we're literally filling that with harsh alcohols that are burning our gut and burning our organs and bringing that type of frequency into our sacral, and not just doing it like once every so often, but maybe every day after work, or, you know, every day you get up and then every night before bed. And like this is very real and common scenarios, which is so crazy to even just think about at this point. But there's many, many of us out there that are literally codependent on alcohol. And it's been so normalized, it's so celebrated, and things of that nature. But from a energetic standpoint, I just really would like for everyone to think about like how that can be damaging and destructive to your creative womb space, male or female, and how it can disrupt your ability to have authenticity, your ability to have your own creative thinking, your own creative thoughts, your own creative feelings. And when you really think about it, people that are heavily addicted to these type of cycles, they're usually not creating things in life. They're usually just consuming and consuming and consuming. And they become out of touch with how to have intimate relationships with others. It becomes difficult to know how to communicate and respect boundaries because we're addicted to being intoxicated. And all these things start taking place. So I I've heard and I've seen and I can feel that there is a shift happening, especially with the younger generations. I heard the other day that I'm not sure if it's in the world, but I think in the US, alcohol sales are down 38% because of the way that the younger generations are. And I'm just really grateful to hear that. And I'm here to support that trend because for my own self, like I've really came into these kind of deep realizations of what this really does to us on this type of level. And, really how important it is. Like, if you want to have quality life and you want to have what feels like your higher self in this plane, in this body, these are the kind of things we got to really look at and like really discern for ourselves. Is this really progressive? Is this really going to help this temple be the temple of spirit? Or is it going to be a temple that draws in demons and polluted, distorted, disillusional type of things? And now that creates addictive tendencies, addictive habits. We're becoming codependent on different things in the world, and we just have no sense of our authenticity. So, yeah, just things to think about. What's normalized and what we're just playing along with that is polluting our bodies, especially the sacral, which is our authenticity and creativeness and being in tune with our inner feminine. Same with tobacco too, man. Like it's one thing to offer tobacco, in an offering to spirit with some pure tobacco, but to just sit there and be smoking cigarettes all day that have all these nanochemicals and poisons in them. Like, what are we really doing?
You're
And
feeding
what example are
demons.
we being for our children? And that's what gets me too, is being the example for the children. And it's like, this is definitely a big reason why, like me myself, I stopped going to music festivals that were full of intoxication, because it's
Mhm.
like, what example are we for children if we're bringing children into what's supposed to be these safe, open spaces, but then the parents and the deadheads and stuff are like literally intoxicated to where they don't even know how to be a functional and correct person. And then that's like that's the normalized, like that's celebrated, and like that's just what it's supposed to be, and that's the culture. And for me it's like, I don't understand, like to me it's like counterproductive, because like, we create those type of environments because we're trying to bring like love and safety and community, but then that's being normalized. And for me, it's like I said, it's counterproductive, because we just have to call a spade when it comes to energetics.
Yeah, really throwing up the discernment here about everything that's going on in the medicine fields and the alcohol fields and the music fields, the real deal of trafficking that's going on. These things aren't safe for any children to go to. No way. No way. And I see, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I went to a music festival, I took drugs, I awakened to a new level I did not know existed. I'm so grateful for my experience. And it's
Oh yeah.
also catapulted me into a perspective of like, now I don't know if the darkness was already there. I'm sure it was, but I believe that it's exponentially gotten darker because it's like the secret's out. And unfortunately, there's not that gate of purity. There's not that, and even like most domestic violence and rape is happening with alcohol. It's just there are demonic possessions taking place that are utilizing the body, and you can take this down to like there's unhealed trauma in the field and all of the things, but you are truly feeding demons. And that's why I tell people about any addiction patterns that they have. It's like there is an entity attached to you that's trying to talk you into feeding it what it wants. And you either consent or you don't. And it takes a while to starve that parasite, to starve that demon. This is the way that I look at it, to start to actually be able to say no, to be like, bitch, who's in control here? Is it me,
Hmm.
or is it that whisper that's like, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that? And you can really see that with any addiction to substance or pornography or anything. It's like, who is that voice? Who is that trying to use my body for its gain, for its pleasure, for its temporary desire that's going to lead me to a fall? And of course, the more we build pure, clean community, the more we move away. There need to be alternatives, right? And unfortunately, even the alternatives get infiltrated sometimes. But I can see that there are, as we talk about these things and as we invite this, we can bring more, because the level of trafficking actually that's going on at music festivals, it's no different than football games or anything else. Like anywhere that people are gathered, unfortunately, the money and the experiments and the lights and everything like gets in there, and there is a mass mind control experiment going on in a lot of these places, and people have no idea. And unfortunately, more stories are showing up
Hmm.
about people that die or people that overdose or people that are missing. And it's unfortunate, because I can see the power, even with it. This is why I'm always talking about responsible use of psychedelics, because it's like I still don't want to throw the idea out that they couldn't be used in the right ways. But safety is important, trust is
Hmm.
important. you know if drugs become the new, like, okay, great, alcohol's down 38%, but now everyone's on mushrooms, And I'm just like, when I meet anyone and they've been on medicine for a long period of time, or they're working shamanically, or they've been serving, I'm like, and just to be honest, like sometimes I can see glaringly what's going on in their field. I'm like, okay, they're not doing the real work. Like, you can see a space, you can touch a space, you can dance in a space, but like, I'm feeling you in this human. I've had shamanic people tell me like, yeah, I know I'm like this in this reality, but when I'm on the medicine, I'm doing all these healings and I'm like, yeah, but it's not about everyone's fun when they're on medicine. How
Yeah.
are you in the real world? How do we learn how to be real in the real world? I mean, just like you might have used to drink to like loosen yourself up so you could talk and stuff like that. Those are all invitations to heal ourselves and to come out and to identify, like, these things can be an assistance to loosening us up or bringing us out. But what we're wanting to do is learn how to bloom and to be that all the time. And I believe that is the responsibility of working even with a psychedelic field, is like, if you go into a field and you touch that and you feel that, how do you bring that down here? It's not a separate thing. It's like embodiment.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. What an episode.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Night Kingdom. Shoo.
Together we rise.
That's right. It's really good to speak on these things because, it kind of like it reassimilates things more in this realm. And that's why we have such power with the throat chakra. And it's good to voice, even if what looks like logistically there's not people watching, the whole universe is watching always. And the Akashic is always recording. It's waiting for what it is that we want to command in this universe through our system. If you don't want to command anything, you don't command anything. But if you want to imprint some stuff, that's where we use our voice and use the sacral energy. And remember that through us, we assimilate this collective reality together.
This is a morphogenetic field. This is the new creation. We are laying down the future templates. And it's a tricky situation because you're moving through time and space. You're actually a time traveler. You're working with timeline creation, but it's in the future. Like, it's not everyone's tuned in yet, but it's out there. It's available. It's accessible. And it's like, you're either being commanded or you're commanding. And this is where the Starship Command comes in. That's what I call ourselves. We are the Starship Command. And we are commanding new realities. We're commanding the celestial heavenly realms to return to this planet Earth. We're commanding the end of the reign of darkness on our planet. We're commanding the end of sexual slavery, drug slavery, meat slavery, beat slavery, all of it. That's the power that we have when we know we have it. I remember hearing such a simple phrase: those who are crazy enough to think they can change the world will. Ashe.
Ashe. That's right. Who wants to be an NPC? Come on. No hate on the NPCs though. We all have our role. We all have our role in this space. But for me, I just like to be Ready Player One.
I like being the creator of the game, not just a player in it. Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm not looking for extras that don't have a soul. Actually, I'm looking for those ones that have a soul. They want to save their soul. They want to rise up into, the sacred kingdom games, like, for real. Yeah, that's where we're at right now. That's what game are you playing? Is it the Rise of the Guardians? game that I'm playing for sure. Building this body of light, body of glory, the holy nations, the holy emanations. So we'll see you tomorrow.
The power of consent. Uh-oh. What'd you say?
I said, so we'll see you tomorrow.
Yep. I will see you tomorrow for the solar plexus.
Ooh, it's gonna be fun.
Thank you so
I'll
much
see if I can find
for
some yellow.
coming in. Yeah, thank you for coming in and sharing and just creating this beautiful space. It was a wonderful co-creation.
Yeah, I always love collaborating with you. Thanks for building the container, and yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Love you guys.
Absolutely. And one love to everyone out there. Thank you guys for tuning in. And yep, see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern for the solar plexus as we continue to climb the ladder of the self. And you guys take care, enjoy yourself. And in the midst of all this, try to find a way to have some fun today. Let that inner child out and release and let go and continue to grow and co-create. One love, everyone. 12D shield. Enjoy.
The 12th dimensional shield building technique. My declaration of intention is to serve my source. I commit to serve my highest power fully, completely, and totally. I am God. I am sovereign. I am free. Prepare for meditation. Visualize and feel your connection. Imagine a platinum six-pointed star, the Star of David, in the center of your brain. As you move that six-pointed star, your Merkaba star, down the center of your body, see it passing through each chakra and releasing from in between your legs. Send your six-pointed star to the center of the earth, to the Earth Star. As you connect your star with the Earth Star, feel unconditional love and unity for all. As you connect to the 12th dimensional platinum light, feel that light building momentum through your entire body. As you connect and fill up with the platinum energy, see your six-pointed star returning back to you, and let it stop at a position 12 inches beneath your feet. As you focus on your six-pointed star, it will start to spin. As it spins, it will build momentum and create a platform of platinum silver light. This is your 12th dimensional shield. As the shield strengthens, it will build an upward movement of a pillar of platinum white light. Allow that pillar of light to build to a position about 3.5 feet above your head. Feel and sense your entire body encased in the 12th dimensional platinum white light. Allow every cell and every pore of your body to be radiating in the platinum white light. As you focus again in that position, 12 inches beneath your feet, visualize your 6-pointed Merkaba star. Now draw your Merkaba star up through the center column of your body, letting it pass through your chakra column and releasing out of the top of your head. Send your star to a position 3.5 feet above your head. As your Merkaba star again begins to spin, see it create a shield at the top of your 12th dimensional pillar of light. Feel yourself fully encased from top to bottom in your 12th dimensional platinum shield. Now multi-dimensionally ground your shield by focusing on your 6-pointed star at the position 3.5 feet above your head. You now are going to send your Merkaba star out towards the cosmic heart of our universe, towards Andromeda. As you connect to the core of the universe, allow the crystal star to emanate its connection to you. As you feel protected and supported in your 12th dimensional pillar of light, say within your heart, "Thank you, God, and thank you, Ascension Guides. I am unity." And so it is.